Hey everyone, we really hope you enjoy this episode. So, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can always follow us there. Every like and share and subscribe can help our channel to be seen by many more Stargate fans. So, we really appreciate it. And then we also have all of our socials listed up on the screen right now if you wish to follow us there. Okay, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. And to all the Stargate fans out there, we would love to hear from you and chat with you on our show. So if you're interested in doing that, please reach out to us via any of our social media platforms or email.
Come try it, because today it's a really important day. It is the first episode of our second season. So we are now through that first season of our podcast. And we have a lot of cool things planned. But today I think we're going to talk about the movies. But isn't this where maybe I should say something along the lines of, if people are interested in sharing Stargate artwork, crafts, any fan merchandise, or anything else that they maybe would like featured, that we would love to start featuring people's art and creativity here. So to please look at our information and get in touch with us, because that's something we would like to start doing. But today, I think we're going to talk about the movies, and not just the Stargate movies, like how we like them, but also our feelings about this movie show format in general. So maybe we can all start by giving like our first feelings and impressions about Arc of Truth and Continuum, either individual or kind of both as a whole. And so I don't know who would like to start, who has relatively strong feelings.
Well, first, though, Martin is with us, who isn't always with
Yeah.
us, right?
Yes, that's true. I'm sorry. We have a very special guest here today, Martin, who is also, he's not part of our podcast, but he's part of it in our hearts always. And today he's here in physical presence.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you.
But yeah, who wants to start? Like, what are your guys' thoughts about the movies? Do you like them? Do you not like them?
It's a
You guys,
complicated issue, if you ask me.
yeah.
Ooh, yeah. That's what we love. We love complicated issues.
Well, the first one is Arc of Truth, I think, right? Because that came
Yes.
straight out of season 10, just to tie it up. And I think more so with Arc of Truth than Continuum, I feel that, you know, the show got canceled. They had to tie something up, so they put a season they had planned into a movie. So to me, the Arc of Truth feels very sped up, condensed, which, given the source material and what was left to be done, is a shame. I mean, it got canceled, budgets and all that. It's understandable, but yeah, it just feels very quick, and it's not a satisfying conclusion to the whole Ori saga for me. It's just, oh, we randomly know about this thing that will fix everything. It's this Deus Ex Machina thing, right? This gimmick, and we have to find it, and we find it, and it does the thing, and now we're done. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah. To me, it feels very underwhelming in a way, because
Yeah.
if you had 10 episodes to, if you spent some time, oh, there's something out there, we don't know what it is, we got to find what it is. And then how do we find it? How does it work? What is the implications? And then you can build up to this satisfying, oh, we have the docile look into it and, break the link. It just, everything felt too convenient in the movie because it had to be so quick. It was all by chance and by luck that they found this, and this happened and that happened, and it fell over right at the same time, and happened to open up, and it happened to work, and the docile happened to look into it. Like nothing felt planned, or in terms of SG-1 knowing what they were doing. So that is my biggest sort of gripe with the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes sense because, like, I've always kind of wondered for myself why I tend to not really like the movies as much. And I always find it really difficult to get myself to want to watch them.
Hmm.
And maybe that's the reason, like maybe that's the reason, because like it's so like with a series you're able to kind of spread things out and go kind of more into the story, and maybe that's exactly what I wasn't liking about the movie without realizing it, if that makes sense, because I find that with the Arc of Truth it was kind of like a hard one for me to get through. And then with Continuum, I liked that one better though. But again, it for me too, I'm kind of weird in the sense that I don't always feel like watching movies. Like I have to be in the mood to feel like watching a movie, even though I'll watch
Hmm.
like a million episodes, which doesn't make sense. But like, so sometimes like I'll break up the movie, like I'll watch part of it and then not feel like watching the rest of it and then watch part of it later. So
Hmm.
that maybe doesn't help either, for me kind of getting into the movies themselves. So like I find that I personally prefer the series more.
So
Um,
sorry, are you talking movies in general or just those movies in particular right
with
now?
those movies, because I do
Okay.
find, I mean, I do like watching just movies in general, and sometimes
Hmm.
I do have to kind of be in the mood for like certain types of
Well,
movies or shows at times, so I don't always feel like watching just like movies in general or a series. Like I kind of have to be like in a certain mood to feel like watching a certain type of show. So I do kind of go through phases like that, I guess. But
hmm.
so like for example, with Stargate, it's like I would really just feel like watching Stargate. So that'd mainly be the thing I was like watching the whole time, is a bunch of like episodes like from the series. And then a different time I might take a break from that and then watch like a different series or a movie or something. But yeah, I've just found these movies, like the Stargate movies in particular, kind of difficult for me to feel like watching. Um, but yeah.
Yeah,
What about
I
you,
mean,
Alyssa?
yeah, let's
Uh,
go over there. Sorry.
Oh no,
I mean,
you're fine.
I guess what I think, and maybe both of you kind of touch on this in a certain way, and maybe this is where also I find there's a disoriented pacing. And it's funny because Martin, you mentioned that everything wraps up fast. And my initial
Hmm.
feeling is, well, on one hand, the movies are paced really slow, right? Because they're not paced that you watch it in 45 minutes. So it has to be interesting through that 45 minutes and have a certain pacing of the 45 minutes. It's actually paced for an hour and a half. So it's not really like a two-parter where they need to make it that you have the same pacing for the 45 minutes and then another 45 minutes. It's like for the full hour and a half. But at the same time, it's also really quick and you don't really get into things. And I think
Hmm.
something like, I mean, maybe I don't know, I'm probably in the minority. I know a lot of people aren't, tend to have certain favorite episodes, but I actually really enjoy filler episodes. Like the episodes where, they maybe, oh, maybe we have the gate address. This is where we're going to find the Ark of Truth. And it's like part of the main plot, but at the same time, what happens is they go to the planet and it has nothing to do with the Ark of Truth, and it's totally different problem, like, and then you have this sort of offshoot episodes. And I feel like in this case, like that would have been really cool to have interspersed with this, and also then you go and you see, oh, what is the fallout actually like. The Ori have been, maybe it would take them longer to figure out what's going on with the Ori, and maybe, this reveal of Adria would be more, I don't know, have more gravity about it. And then they would have to deal with her for some things. And so I feel like there could have been a lot more development that could have made it really interesting. Um, so I would
Yeah.
guess in the way that's kind of similar to what both of you said.
Well, it's I like this that the pacing, it feels really quick and drawn out at the same time, because it is weird because it almost feels like, like each scene, more or less, or each couple of scenes is an episode, like they wrote it for the show, right? But because it got canceled, they had to make it a movie. But it feels like the conversion from an episodic, whatever,
Yeah.
12, 15, 14 episodes to an hour and a half movie, that conversion didn't quite happen, properly, for lack of a better word. I mean, that's just too much. And the issue I see is that there's so much lore and there's so many characters and there's so many plots that need to be touched upon to make this movie make sense for the fans. It really should have been two movies, right? So they couldn't really cut anything out, but that's why it felt so compressed, and yet it was only an hour and a half. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know, the whole subplot with and I can't remember his name now, Vala's husband,
Toman.
Tolman,
Yeah,
and
right?
how they ran into him again, and how he, like, within like 3 minutes on screen, he went from fighting them to working with them. Now,
Yeah.
if I imagine that in an actual season, it would be they run into him in episode 1, fight him, get
Yep.
out of it somehow, but they plant a seed of doubt in him. And then you see him again
Yeah.
3 episodes later, and he is actually questioning the prior. And another 2 episodes later, they run into him again, but there has been an evolution in him off screen that we know happens through, you know,
Yep.
a scene or two here and there. And then it makes sense that all of a sudden he goes, you know what? Maybe I'm on the wrong side here.
Yeah.
But in the
Yeah.
movie,
I
it's
mean,
literally, it's like within like 5 minutes, the opening 5 minutes, he goes from being this devout, you know, fundamentalist, brainwashed, to, oh, I don't believe in any of this.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it
that
just
did feel
feels very
strange.
unnatural.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just one
Yeah.
instance. And to me, that is actually such a good plot point. It was
Yeah,
just a
Toman.
shame. It was just a shame he was not used, you know, in a way that felt natural and it makes sense. And he really wants to atone. And then his relationship with Teok, the two, you know,
Mm-hmm.
people that understand each other the most and, you know, are suffering the most because they did all those horrible things and are trying to atone for it now.
Okay, because like I have like a specific order of when I watch things. I was trying to see, like, it's like an app that tells me like what order to watch it all in, and then I was trying to see when I actually watched the Arc of Truth. It
Mm-hmm.
was after Stargate Atlantis season 4, episode 20. Then it suggested to then watch the Arc of Truth after that.
So like right before the conclusion of season 4. Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Like, but I think what was weird to me though is at that point, like season 10 like of SG-1, right? That's been ended for like that whole time I'm watching like Atlantis, right? Like, and so I think that was also part of it for me too, like, is that it was hard for me to kind of get back into that
Right.
storyline and um fully remember everything that was initially going on with all of that. And um it, I don't know, it just felt weird. But I do feel like it seems, I could be wrong in this, but it seems like when I've been online and people like have, you know, it seems to be a common thing that a lot of Stargate fans seem to prefer the series, I think.
Yes.
Did you guys get that same impression? Because I feel like is, and I kind of wonder, like, I just feel like sometimes certain things like are just not like the type of like show it is, like it just maybe it's just not the best for like a movie format, you know, with like all of the characters and how in depth it can go into the story, because I really love the writing of all of it, you
For
know.
sure. For sure. I mean,
um
I think something that's so special about Stargate is the character development and the character interaction. And I think something Martin mentioned, which is Toman, I
Mm-hmm.
think could have been such a solid addition to like a season 11 of Stargate as like a sort of extra, you know, like how sometimes they have characters that kind of join and they're there more often, but they're,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're not necessarily part of the core four. But I feel like he could have been such a good addition first to explore more his relationship with Vala. And also, I thought the thing with Tilk was kind of really, I mean, because Tilk and Jonas kind of had some moments, and I thought that was really sweet. But I also think in the case of Toman, there would have been so many options to really explore how he felt and connect it to Teal'c, because really they had such a nice experience. And I mean, everybody loves the episode of Atlantis where like Teal'c and Ronan get together and they kind of, you know, share their experience. So I mean, something with Toman, it could have been, you know, just one episode where they really, you know, like those
Mm-hmm.
episodes I kind of love. And I especially felt like at the end of Atlantis, they started really getting into these like just a couple character driven episodes, and to do that in some kind of season 11 of Stargate with this new characters would have been really, really nice.
Mm-hmm. I mean, especially
yeah,
when you think it would likely have been the last season, right? Season
Yeah.
11. when I think back to season 1 with Teal'c, because they kind of treated Teal'c the same way they treated Tolan in the movie. Like 1 minute he was the Prime, the next minute he was fighting with the Tauri. We didn't get his story, his struggle with the whole situation, right? It was very quick, and then over the seasons, we of course learn what was going on and why he did what he did, which is great. But it would have been nice to show over a season this gradual change from, really fundamentalist point of view, brainwashed since birth kind of thing, to be this fighting machine, to why are we doing this, and how that change could have happened. I
Yeah.
think, especially in light of what happened with Teal'c at the beginning, to kind of flip it rather than do the same again, like this instantaneous thing that we are not necessarily privy of as on screen something happening. I think that
Yeah.
would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm. Totally.
Yeah, totally.
I feel Continuum worked better as a film format because
Yeah.
it didn't have the same. I mean, of course, there's this part of it that is, part of the main storyline, but it also it felt like already is something extra. It felt a little bit like, something for the fans anyways. And so I actually enjoyed it more because it's, I mean, on the one hand, partially it might be because I'm really into time travel already, but, it also just kind of felt like this kind of how Mobius was in season 8. Like they kind of concluded the whole story with the Lost City episodes, but then they had Mobius at the end, and it was just this cute time travel story, a little bit of fan service, kind of like able to make a little bit joke of some things and also allude to, Sam and Jack again, and kind of concluded in a cute way. But I felt like Continuum was a little bit like that. And I mean, it did, of course, deal with the ball situation. So it did have a little bit of plot, but at the same time, I mean, you could always say, well, that was just a clone. I mean, because there's so many balls, so you could easily retcon it. But I thought it was kind of just a nice, fun, almost like, hey, we haven't seen SG-1 in action in a while. Let's watch them again, just for fun. So that one I felt worked a little bit. I also felt like maybe it worked because Sam mentioned it in the Atlantis episode. She says at the end, oh, I got to go back and do the extraction ceremony at Ball. So it felt like it's more entwined in a way. I felt like it was kind of more integrated in that sense. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't realize she had said that. Like I didn't even remember that. But yeah, I agree. I just like I don't even really know why, but I just like from the start of that movie, I remember thinking, "Oh, okay, I think I'm gonna like this one." Like and for the most part I did. Like I think maybe because of how I watched it, I couldn't fully get into it because I did kind of break it up a bit. Um, just with my own like attention span for whatever reason, like I just like broke it up to multiple times when I would pause it and then watch it like a day or so later. So that probably doesn't help. It's probably best to just watch it all the way through. But I definitely feel like I there's just something about it that I enjoyed more, and I don't really know what, but maybe that's the reason, like how you were mentioning, Alyssa, like it was kind of almost like an extra story in a sense. But yeah, I mean, Martin, what did you think of Continuum? Did you, or like which movie out of the two did you prefer?
Well, that's tough because it depends on my metric. It purely from a story point of view, I prefer, I think, the Arc of Truth. Um, just because the whole Ori saga is such a big thing, so I really appreciated that they tried to kind of tie it up a little bit. And I really was curious, how all of those pieces fall into place. In terms of it as a movie experience, I prefer Continuum because it's more of a movie plot. There's not as much. It's very clear what the main objective is. It's very clear who the bad guy is. It's very clear. The structure of it is more like a movie to me. So in that sense, I prefer watching Continuum, but I prefer the plot of Arc of Truth. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
that
makes
makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it's Continuum, I mean, Baal is just, he's like the best character. I mean, I love the character of Baal, and I love um, the actor who brings him to life. He's so good. You love to hate Baal, right?
Mhm.
And it's just the movie is so good in that sense, where you get one more outing with Baal and his deviousness, and so
Mhm.
any scene he's in, it's such a treat. I love it.
Yeah, no, he is great. I was curious how you guys felt about like how they had it, that there was like Katesh, right? And
Hmm.
and then how Teal'c was the different version of himself. And like I was just curious like your thoughts on that, because I know like, obviously with Teal'c before they've had that happen in past episodes, um but to me it was like I don't know why it was a little bit hard for me to fully feel like Katesh was Katesh. I felt like I kept looking at her like I kept like thinking, oh, is she just like faking it? Like is it really just Vala? Like, and she's gonna like come out and attack and like save the day? Like,
Hmm.
like I
Yeah,
wasn't
because
sure initially if both of them were supposed to be faking it, but then I realized no, that's actually just like the storyline and what's actually happening. But like, I don't know
Hmm.
what your guys' thoughts are on that in particular.
I mean, I agree. It's a weird, almost what's the word I'm looking for? Like a cognitive dissonance, right? Because we
Mm,
lived with the character Vala for so long, and now, of course, it's the same actress, but it's a totally different character, and that character didn't exist in the other timeline, not timeline, but
yeah.
in the show, there was no Kitesh. By the time we met Vala, there was no more Kitesh. We never met Kitesh. We don't know how she acted, what she looked like, how she behaved, right? So it was weird in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
well, plus we're gaslit by Vala all the time. So Vala was
Yes.
always so like lying and sneaking. I mean, it also like to me, it's kind of like one of those things that also felt a little bit like this is for the fans, because we
Hmm.
didn't really ever get to experience Katash. And maybe if
Hmm.
this is in different circumstances, like if there were other things going on, we would have been able to experience Katash. Like maybe if there was another time travel episode or some
Yeah.
other alternate, they have alternate reality universes. Maybe there's
Yeah.
an alternate reality where Vala is still Katesh, but we didn't really get to experience it. So maybe this is one of those situations where, they let us experience Katesh just so.
Yeah. I think probably the biggest issue with the whole Kitesh thing, aside from what we mentioned now, is again there wasn't enough time. It's like she is there and we're told it's Kitesh, but we don't get any of the relationship between Baal and Kitesh. Like she was basically held prisoner and a slave by Baal for the last 50 years, right? It was a throwaway line. But so we 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 don't really get the sense of this her trying to escape or rectify the situation. She's just bidding her time until she can pounce and get rid of him and then take over like a ghoul would, right? So we don't
True.
we it would have needed some more time to set all of this up, and the movie didn't have that time. So
True, true. However, one thing, just so that we're all
Mhm.
aware of this, there might have been practical reasons why one Vala was Katesh and why Katesh had a certain amount of screen time, being that Claudia Black was pregnant at the time of the filming.
Yeah,
So I
Oh,
don't,
was she?
yeah, so I don't know if that how that affected scheduling and everything. So that might have kind of impacted the screen time that Katesh had or the screen time that
hmm,
Claudia Black.
yeah.
Ah, okay.
No, it makes sense. I mean, also if you look at how the movie is paced and the narrative, it makes sense.
Mhm.
It wouldn't make sense to spend 5 or 10 minutes exploring the relationship between Kitesh and Baal, because Kitesh really doesn't have an impact on the story as such until the very end.
When she
Yeah.
gets her revenge.
Teal'c does anyway.
And
True.
what do you guys think of like how whenever it's like a season or an episode where it's clearly going to go back to their own timeline or back to like everything being okay kind of thing. Like a lot of times, like they'll have like, and I can't think of anything specific in the series, but I think this has happened in the series as well. Maybe you guys remember where, but when they have like a duplicate of one of the characters that they just like instantly die. Like there's no fight about it. It's like something just happens, boom, they're gone. And like they did that, you know, like with Jack in this movie. And but then because clearly you see like other versions of him, like then he's in the movie. And then, you know, it's like, so it's like I feel like whenever you see something like that, like, you know, like something's gonna happen, that's not gonna be so. And so like I don't know how much I actually like that happening, because it just feels like even if they did die, like I feel like there needs to be like something where there's like some sort of typical like Stargate like struggle thing, because it's like they're always like so like almost superhuman with how like, you know, they never get injured or nearly die but then don't die, and that's how
Mhm.
it always happens. And so like in the times when they've had them die, it's like just instant, it's like boom, you get shot, you're dead. Like, and I think the series that happened in was like way in near the beginning of SG-1, when they went to like they found the Nox, I think, right? Where
Yes.
like they just got shot, like, and there was no like battle beforehand. It was just like boom, you get shot, you're down kind of thing.
True,
Does that
true.
make sense? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. No, I know what you mean. And I guess in the episode of Double Jeopardy, which is I think the one Michael Shanks might have directed that actually, but that was the one where they ran into their cyber or like robot doubles, and immediately Daniel Jackson is killed, like beheaded just in the beginning.
Beheaded? Whoa, I don't remember that. What?
Right? He's beheaded, right? Like they shoot his head off with a
Yes, they should have said it.
okay.
Oh
You're
my
right.
gosh. The things that don't stick in my mind, I'm like amazed sometimes. You think that would stay there.
I mean, I kind of agree because I hadn't seen Continuum in a long time, and we watched it last night. Um, the thing that I thought was, you know, I hesitate to use the word comical because it's supposed to be this impactful scene when Jack dies, and
Mm-hmm.
the, you know, when the ball attacks him in the Tokyo city. Um, I mean, come on, Ball stabbed him with a little needle in the shoulder.
Yeah,
Jack has survived so much worse, you know,
true.
Yeah.
and he's back next week and he's fine. You know, this is you know, to quote Monty Python, it's just a flesh wound. Why would he die from that? You know, and that quickly? And
Yeah.
you know, that's just weird. So that
Yeah.
moment was kind of like, okay, he could have just disappeared like everybody else. He didn't need to die in this, you know. I don't know if it was a throwback to when Baal tortured him with all the knives at the first time we meet Baal, that he gets stabbed again, and this time he actually dies. But it just felt very anticlimactic and out of character.
Yeah.
Because first of all, he would have, I mean, he is trained. He would not just let himself get stabbed like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
True, 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 true.
I mean, because what episode was it in SG-1 where he was like literally like it was, you know, on the base or whatever, where he had that things through him, remember?
Mhm.
Like, and he was like
Yes.
chilling like that for the whole episode. Like, now that would have killed him.
Yeah, right? It should
Yep.
have killed him and almost like
Yeah. Yeah. So it does feel like
To
sometimes
be
when it
fair, they
comes to the
explained that one
movies.
in the episode, but
true,
Oh,
true,
did they?
true, 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 true.
yeah, yeah.
Did, but like it does seem like with the movies, like there are certain things that are just done fairly quickly, I suppose, just to
Hmm.
kind of get that part of the story out there. But
Again, I
yeah,
understand it. It's a movie. Things need to happen, and they probably only had Richard Dean Anderson's for a certain amount of time, and
yeah.
then he was gone. So you know he needed to disappear.
You need
But
to
you know,
disappear. It sounds like a mob thing
yeah, yeah.
to make him disappear.
Although I really like that it was him, the special forces in Antarctica or wherever they were, the
Yeah,
South Pole, I guess. I really
totally.
liked that it was him. I did not see that coming. I did not remember it was him. when the scene was happening. So
Yeah.
so that was really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think we've all discussed this yet, but like, it was a question, Alyssa, that you brought up on our notes, I suppose. But so if budget wasn't an issue, should the Stargate movies have been movies or parts of a season? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, if there is no budget issues or anything, then another season, of course. The second best for me would have been a miniseries. You know, you
Yeah,
have like 2 or 3 slightly longer, you know, like double episodes kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then movie to me is the worst possible solution in this context.
Mm-hmm.
Just yeah, especially for the Arc of Truth, because that was just too much.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I feel somehow that there's so much lost because I think actually when you think about episodes, overall a lot less happens. Like overall, when you think about what's actually happening, and when you look at like just a season, the overall, like if you were to say, okay, what happened? What changed in the main plot of Stargate between like say the beginning of season one, or like season, let's say a later season where it gets pretty fast, like a beginning of season 6 in the end, and it's actually really in the end not much happens, but at the same time a lot happens during the not much. And I think that's what it's kind of missing is the situation where they go to the planet and it has nothing to do with the plot, but then they find the Toker Queen, or this situation where something happens, and because they are on this completely unrelated mission, they discover something that then leads to something else. And I think those are some of the magical things in Stargate. Actually, I find that they're so cool, is these sort of little discoveries or little steps forward that don't mean anything at the time but end up meaning a lot later, or the things that should mean a lot at the time but they're kind of disregarded. And I think in a movie, you just don't have the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the time to spend 45 minutes, solving the situation. Maybe 45 minutes finding a solution of making everybody know that the Ori are dead, and then erasing it because it doesn't actually work, or it has this big disadvantage. In the movie, everything has to work by the end of the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah,
to me, that's
yeah.
where I think there's a lot lost in the sense of this little things that kind of make Stargate.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that. Like, I definitely obviously prefer the Stargate. Like, it would be cool to have another Stargate SG-1 season or whatever, or even if we're talking about, the other parts of, Stargate, like Stargate Atlantis, and eventually when I watch Stargate Universe, like, or even a whole new Stargate season of some sort. Like, I just always prefer the seasons, because it's just able to, like, they're able to write it in a way that just, I think, really like keeps you like focused in the storyline and everything, where I feel like for me personally I lose a bit of focus when I'm watching the movie. um and like, if I really get into a movie, I'm not like that, so that's why I notice it when I'm watching it, because a lot of times, like, I can really get into movies. So, and with the Stargate movies, I've never gotten to that point where I get so into it that I don't realize how much time has went by, hence why, like, I kind of broke it up a little bit where I'd watch it in sections. um but yeah.
Which is really funny, right? Because when you're watching the episodes, I mean, I know we've all done it. It's really easy, especially there are some stretches and some seasons of them where it's like you just have to watch one right after the other, and you end up watching like 4 hours or something, right? And it's
Oh
long,
yeah.
and it's longer than a movie. But somehow there's this psychological thing when you sit down to watch the movie that it's like it feels too long or something. I don't know. Maybe that's the sort of experience I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe, and I think both of you touched on that, it might have more to do with the movie format, that that by the end of the movie, something needs to happen, something needs to resolve. It needs
True.
to. Otherwise, you don't have a movie, right? With an episode, you could literally have an episode, nothing happens, nothing resolved, nothing was learned, and it's okay.
True.
Because the next one
Yeah.
will. You can't
Yeah.
have that in a movie. So it might also
Yeah.
be sort of a psychological, you know, sort of reason why you don't want to watch it, because You know, the bad guy
Yeah.
will be thwarted, the good guys will be good, everything will be fine, nothing bad will have happened because, you know, at the end of the movie, the good guys need to be at status quo. You can't get rid of them just in case you want to do another movie or a new series. The bad guys need to lose with whatever scheme they had. You know how, and in a season of a show, you don't necessarily need to follow that. The bad guy
Yeah.
can disappear, you can defeat him, but he might come back, you know, a season or two later if you want to. You know, how often did
That's
Apophis
true.
disappear and then just pop back up somewhere in hell? Literally.
I mean, that's
So,
really
you know,
that's a really good point. And it, or you can come up with a new bad guy. I mean, what was it, the season 2 or 3 of SG-1 where they just, instead of doing a Goa'uld conclusion, they did with replicators. So, I
Yeah.
mean, there's
yeah,
those kind of things. But you're right. That's maybe that's one of the psychological things that
yeah.
you kind of know already what's going to happen. And in
Mhm.
Stargate, in the seasons, you don't necessarily, because when you go off world, it could have to do with the plot, or it could have nothing to do with the plot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it was the Arc of Truth where they also had brought the replicators back, no? With that, uh, I don't remember the major's name or whatever it was.
Right.
Oh,
Right? There
yeah.
was this whole subplot of them replicating a replicator and then the guy turning into part replicator and all that stuff,
Oh,
which
that's
also
right.
felt
Yeah.
like, you know, again, in terms of just if I look at it as a season and the
Yeah.
trust or the IOA, is that what they were called?
Uh-huh.
You know, getting really desperate because it's getting really bad. I can see that making sense. Hey, we have this weapon that nobody can stop, right? And we have the technology to make it harmless to us and be able to shut it down and to create it. It makes sense that this is in there, but in the movie, when there's already so many moving parts, I kind of felt like that was, I mean, it did in the end, if you look at it in the context of the movie, that story element, all it did was it kind of destroyed the ship and nothing else came out of it. If you
True.
cut that out, nothing changes how the rest of the story kind of unfolded. They
Hmm.
didn't learn anything that then helped them destroy or, you know, conclude the Aura saga. It didn't help them save the Asgard or do anything. It was just there because it's a throwback to something that happened, something that probably was planned for the season, but you have
True.
time there to get desperate enough. But here it was kind of like, why did you do that? It makes no sense. We had no point where it felt like we really needed this last ditch effort to do something that is so bad that, yeah, because it will probably get out of hand as, you know, really smart little buggers.
That's
Anyway,
really true. That's really
because
true.
I
Because,
also totally forgot about the whole replicator
yeah.
subplot in that until you just brought up the replicators. I'm going, hang on, there was a replicator
Yeah.
subplot that I totally forgot because it has nothing to do with the story. It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything for the story itself in that movie.
I mean,
So
it's very
Yeah.
true because now that you mention it, I would expect this as like a mid-season two-parter.
yes, like
Yeah.
at the end of the season, at the last episode of the, you know, the replicated and the last shot before you go into the 4 week break or whatever it is them having the replicator on board. And you go, oh damn, now I need to keep watching.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
You know,
totally. Right at the
Right?
end, yeah.
yeah,
But
this is slightly off topic of that, but it just got me thinking, Martin, how you were mentioning like a mini series before, how you're open to like a mini series or a
mhm.
series as opposed to a movie. And I was just thinking, how cool would it be if like there was like a whole like pile of like mini series based on specific characters that you don't hear
Mhm.
much of their
Yep.
backstory,
Oh, that
or
would be so
and it would
cool.
like go into that, like
Mhm. It's funny because
and
I was thinking about
yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
Maybe not a minute because I was going, oh, we could have, you know, like Insta shorts of, oh, the everyday life of, you know, Apophis, you know, some Jafar or Apophis breakfast habits or whatever it is, right?
That would be hilarious. That would be
You
super
know,
funny.
you know, it could be really
Uh,
goofy and weird, but it could bring something to
Yeah.
the lore in general, you know.
Get ready with me, Near Tea edition.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That would be so cool. Yeah, how
That
I
kind
got
of
I mean,
goes into our silly question, kind of the silly question you have planned to ask us, Alyssa.
Yes.
oh
So
no.
we always like to do these kind of fun and silly questions at the end of episodes. And because we're talking today specifically about format and like I think what we mostly got into, we did talk about how we felt about the movies, but I think we're mostly talking about the format of a movie in the context of a TV show. I thought we could all answer this question. And we can think about it for just a second. What format would you like to see Stargate to do? Like, what kind of thing would you like to see? I mean, I know we already mentioned miniseries and the shorts, but maybe we can only pick one thing. If we could pick one thing.
You mean if it continued, if they restarted it, if like in what context?
Like, let's say you had, I don't know, a few hundreds of millions laying around and you're like, I want to make a Stargate project. It could be whatever format I want it to
Just
be.
let me dig in my couch, yes.
Yeah, what would you pick? Like, if you could produce anything or something, you could ask them to produce anything, Stargate, what would you pick? Who wants to start?
I mean, I know what I gravitate towards because you have this in the parentheses on our notes, but like I always gravitate, it probably is a terrible, terrible idea, but I think it would be so much fun to have a musical.
A Stargate musical? Yeah, that would be cool.
Like, I think that's probably like a really bad idea, but I still want to see it.
I mean, there was this hot second in the 90s and early 2000s where all series all of a sudden had a musical episode.
Yep, absolutely.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched Lucifer, but
I
Lucifer,
love
like
Lucifer.
I love that show, and they had a musical episode in that one.
Yes, with God
and like
coming. Yeah.
that to me was like amazing. Like I love when there's like the weird musical episode. Because also it's like, the people in the show themselves, like a lot of times they already have a background in those kinds of things, right? And so they're very talented with that as well. So it isn't like, they can't sing or dance or whatever, and it's just kind of like cringy to watch. Like usually they do like really well at it, and so like I think that'd be like hilarious to have a Stargate musical edition. I mean, can you just imagine like all the Jaffa like having their like
yes,
special
like
dance and
the Jaffa chorus line? That would be amazing. It would have to be an Atlantis SG-1 crossover too, because I would love to see Sam and McKay having a duet of some kind.
oh my god.
No,
Even
not
if we could
McKay,
just have that and like
Salenka.
YouTube thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. I almost think Stargate Atlantis musical edition is even better. Yeah.
That just reminded me of what was it called? Dr. Horrible sing-along blog. So in that style, I could see it. Have you seen that?
Little bits and
I
pieces, but
have
not all of
not,
them.
no.
So that would be
Oh,
hilarious.
Neil Patrick Harris is Dr. Horrible.
Oh, okay. I love him.
It is amazing. If you're into musicals and singing, and if
I
you
am, yes.
if you like Neil Patrick Harris, you have to watch this. It's
Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Dr. Horrible sing-along
Oh my
blog. I
gosh.
think it's like 3 or 4 episodes, like at 15 minutes each. It's pretty short, but
Oh my gosh,
anyway,
that's cool.
I don't want to spoil it, but you gotta watch it.
That would be cool. I also thought of like, wouldn't it be funny like if Stargate had like if it was like a musical edition, like remember how like they had an episode where like they kind of took like examples of like they kind of spoofed them, like made fun of themselves by doing like little bits of like other sci-fi shows that were within their one show. And
Yeah.
like it would be really funny to take like famous like well-liked musicals and like kind of do a blend of different styles of musicals in one like episode, or a series of episodes, because like for example like I love like Hamilton, and I love um and I don't know if you guys watch musicals, so if you know any of these, but like Hamilton I absolutely love, like or if you think of like other musicals like Chicago or Aida or like all these other different ones, like it would be so like funny to like have like all those different styles kind of combined into one, that like you, especially with Hamilton, like I think that could be fun to add into the Stargate show.
Okay, because you guys know what I'll say.
No,
What will you
Stargate
see?
Ice
I don't
Show.
know.
The
Oh.
Stargate Ice Show.
of course.
Oh,
Duh.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even
Neither
think of
did
that.
I.
I should have
Mhm.
thought of that.
I
That
mean,
would be amazing.
How cool would it be? The music is really good. You have awesome costumes. You have so many different factions that you have really good opportunity for group numbers. And you also have really good opportunity for solo, small ensemble, like everything. It would be an amazing, amazing ice show. And especially because the costumes, everybody would want to be a ghoul. It would be amazing.
Stargate on Ice. That would be amazing.
Stargate
on Ice. Like, I think if any people that are ice show producers listening, this is a brilliant idea. Absolutely. Would love, love, love to see that.
Yes, that would be so cool. I
That would
don't
be fun.
know why my brain didn't think of that because you are into ice skating, but like it just never went there. But I wasn't even thinking of that. So yeah, that would be cool.
That would be really cool. You already have the cool stuff, the weird stuff, the wacky stuff. So I don't know what to say.
But you
I
already
mean,
thought of a cool idea with those YouTube shorts.
yeah, I kind of like the idea of some shorts that have nothing to do with the plot per se. But, for example, what if you had, those YouTube shorts or whatever shorts it is, like 2-3 minutes of, by the end of it, it is clear that it happens at the same time as some critical thing that SG-1 is doing. But you're the Jafar that has to guard a room where there's nothing happening. But 2 rooms down is where they, fight Apophis or something. But you're not involved. You don't even know it's going on. Those kind of things, where it becomes clear, sort of like that episode with Coombs and what's his pickle.
Oh,
Where they try to rescue
Felger and Coombs.
Belcher and Coombs, where they try to rescue SG-1.
Yes,
that
Oh
kind
my
of thing,
gosh.
where there's you get the daily dredge of being a Jafar or a system lord that is not important, and there's something really important going on over there, and you kind of know it's going on as the viewer, and then at the very end, it ties it into the actual show, and
Yeah,
I think that would be really, really, really
I
cool.
think that'd be so funny.
that would
And
be
like now that makes Oh, sorry, Alyssa, go ahead.
I was gonna say that would just be funny, like third-rate system lords.
Yeah, exactly. Like at that system lord meeting at that satellite with Daniel as the slave to you. There were so many system lords we never saw before, never saw again. So it would be so cool to go into their daily lives because they're inconsequential in the bigger story, but obviously they're system lords. They have a domain. They have their struggles. What is a system lord's struggle when you're basically just a slave to Sokar or somebody? So
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. And I think too, like it'd be
Totally.
hilarious to have the Felger and Coombs TikTok channel.
Oh
my
my
God,
God,
right?
yes.
There you go.
Felger and Coombs TikTok would be amazing.
Like I really want those actors to just like do it now. Just go back into character and do your Felger and Coombs TikTok channel. Like that would be so amazing.
Totally.
Or Walter's TikTok,
Wait, who's Walter?
the gate technician,
It took
Chevron 1 encoded.
Oh my God. Oh, poor Walter. I'm sorry, Walter. How could I say that? Oh, I'm such a horrible Stargate person.
Because
Oh my
I
gosh.
really like that character.
Me too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have actually like a really, really long name.
I'm horrible with names, so I wouldn't know. All I know
Like you
is
mean in
that
real life or on the show?
On the show. Like I think that character actually has a really, really long name, like Sergeant, Lieutenant, something, something. I don't remember what it is, but I feel
Oh
like
yeah, what was that in? Yeah.
well, funny, when I lived in North Vancouver, I was actually shopping at the same butcher as him a couple of times. I saw him a couple of times in real life. Good old Walter.
Really?
Yes.
Did you go up to him?
No.
Oh.
I mean, that's probably like every day. I mean, like when I like literally within 3 days of moving to Vancouver, I ran into a Wraith and another person that was like in Stargate.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
But
Gosh,
I
I
mean,
would have loved to be a Wraith.
but I mean, the thing is, Martin saw this guy all the time. Like,
Well,
Oh
all the
my
time. Handful of
gosh.
times, yes.
That's
And you're just like
what I
hiding
would
behind the
see.
produce or something, like being like, that's
Can you
Walter.
imagine? They're like, hey, be like, Chevron 1 encoded.
Oh my God, that would be so cringe. Poor guy.
But I mean, I get it. Like, it's like I kind of always think like if I were to see someone that's known or on like a favorite show of mine or something, or a movie or anything, like, or they're like, you know, super known in Hollywood or whatever, like you do get awkward and feel like, oh, do I go up to them? Do I not go up to them? What do I, you know, like, what do you
Yeah.
say? And then you never know if they're going to be nice or mean or whatever. So I can see like feeling awkward about it and not going up to them. But it's a shame that you didn't go up to him because I bet you he would be so cool. You know, like, yeah.
Unless he gets it all the time.
It's
Yeah.
like,
He's
and then
just trying to get his damn groceries because he
Yeah.
had a long and hard day and he doesn't want to deal with anybody, you know.
yeah. No, I would be the same. I would always like, I would be too scared. I would be like shaking in my boots. I would feel like I would be annoying, you know?
Exactly. You know, it's, you know, if you're at a con or something, they're there to meet people. That's fine. But, you know, it's their daily life. It's like, you know, us as composers, if we were out shopping and some musicians come and talk to us about a piece they're playing. Not now. I'm trying to get my
Yeah.
daily life in order here, right? That's what the rehearsal is for. That's what, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
Yeah, I know that makes sense. It makes sense, but at the same time, like,
I know.
I don't know.
Yep.
It'd be cool.
Yes. Yes.
So, have we covered everything, or Alyssa, was there anything else that you thought that we should go over?
I think we covered everything in terms of how we feel. I mean, I guess if there's any final thoughts, but otherwise, I would ask the people that are viewing to kind of share your thoughts on the movies because I'm actually curious, how did other people feel about the movie? Do you feel the same as us about kind of some of the formatting things? Do you think there were things in the movies that maybe you enjoyed more than the show? I'd be interested to hear because
Mhm.
I mean, we all seem to have some similar thinking processes, but maybe other people have completely different opinions
Mm.
on than we
And let's start a petition for a TikTok channel of, you know, McKay, Walter,
Yeah, totally.
Belger Coombs.
Belcher and Coombs.
Belger and Coombs TikTok. I mean, can you imagine the dances they could do?
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. And then they could bring which one is it that has the cat? They could also like do cat videos and stuff.
Yes, and you know what else? Because they're like super fans of SG-1, they could make really, really cringy Stargate edits, you know? Like how when people have
Yes.
fan accounts, they're making those edits, and then they can make edits like, can you imagine like the Carter edits that you know, I think
Belcher.
Felger
Yeah.
would make? Oh my God.
That would be amazing.
Hilarious.